There's a few more of that. Somehow I'm only half censored at this point. Kind of strange. My husband's actually actively trying to get himself kicked off Facebook, but
nice.
So I think probably what I'll do. Sometimes I took other people's business cards for this thing, but I'm just gonna pass this around. That's my business card on there. The best thing on there is the QR code. I'm assuming in this day and age, especially when the restaurants were first allowed to reopen, and you're basically told you can't have menus, you have to, be using QR codes and dumb stuff like that. That a lot of people who didn't know about them before 2020 now do. If you don't know what a QR code is, can you raise your hand and I'll explain it? Anybody? You want me to explain it? Okay. So it's basically you scan it with your phone as long as your phone is remotely new. You can either download a QR code scanner, or a lot of the Apple and the Google standard cameras will automatically, if you hold it over, it pulls it up, and then my QR code goes directly to a piece of my website. Okay. So, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Quite honestly, I wasn't sure exactly what I needed to talk about. So I do have stuff that no matter what MDHHS or Whitmer are doing, this is stuff I want you guys all to know and share and spread and live with. So if we have specific questions we still need to deal with beyond that, great. My curfew is when that guy says I have to go home. And usually I can't hear him, so it's okay. So I probably should say that the guy pointing at the troublemaker over there would be my husband, Mike. But so might be a dumb question. I've walked in rooms where some people don't seem to necessarily know who I am or the things I've been working on or getting arrested for. But sometimes I walk in a room with hundreds of people and everybody knows who I am. So I just kind of like to know who, what audience is here. Can you raise your hand if you do know who I am and what I've been working on?
Just don't know why you were arrested. That's curiosity. Why were you arrested?
Oh, why? Oh, we'll go. It's not a simple answer.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's simple because I have rights that God gave me. I was exercising them, and some dummies don't know how to do their job.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But it's much more than that at this point. So, with that being said, I was trying to figure out the best way to get this stuff to you. I don't have a color printer, and I could have printed out all these in black and white, but I actually did a little bit of color contrasting to make it easier. Basically, how many of you have heard of the Constitutional Law Group? I think it's Attorney Rick Martin. And then the signs that he has made for businesses to put on their front door. Let's say if you enter, I don't know, I've seen quite a few of those.
Does it say trespassing?
There's a whole bunch. You've got, 18 U.S.C. Section 242, and he's got all the other kinds of statutes on there. Just for what it's worth, I assume his intentions are good, but he's not a real attorney. I don't believe he actually has any attorneys working there. And although most attorneys give me a bad name, we actually at least put in at least 7 years of higher education to have that degree. And if we're licensed, then we've taken bar exam and paid, I don't know, $7,000, for example, to take the Michigan bar. Kid you not. So there's a lot of rigorous stuff that goes into that, and there's a lot of attorneys that are not perfect. We can think of 3 that are currently serving in high positions in our Michigan government that shouldn't have a law license. But in any event, what I like to make sure that people have is the truth. And what you do with that is up to you. But I like to make sure people actually have the real facts and the real law, and they're not making it up as they go along. Although, did you say you do family law? Mm-hmm. Here in Michigan, we have this little thing called front of the court. And a lot of them like to make up the law as they go along, don't they? So, with that being said, the signs that he has been posting, they're not quite accurate. He's got the general idea right, but some of the stuff that he's quoting, like 18 U.S.C. Section 242, doesn't apply unless there's like a racial discrimination or. You're freaking me out.
The sound is just, it's not picking up.
Oh, okay. I'm not usually accused of being too quiet. So, so I guess what I'm going to do is, I I have this available that I can send to you guys in a PDF. I don't know how you guys have been communicating. Are you somebody here like the hub?
Yeah.
Or, okay, so if I either sent it to you or somebody, okay. The you that I have back there is Joel. So if I get it to you, is that good? Or,
I can post that forum as well.
and everybody here has access to that, or?
We can invite them to that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Otherwise, I will actually put it on my website too, which if I run out of business cards and you don't necessarily want a whole business card, you just want to scan it, that's fine, that's what it can do. So, but I am going to pass this around. It is 4 pages. And that's kind of what we're going to go along. This is my version, and it's not as pretty. He's got like, whatever. The Constitutional Law Group version might be a little prettier than mine, but if we need to make it prettier and whatever, we'll do that. I was more worried about getting the actual law involved out there. So, and again, this will be made available to you through my own website, but then hopefully directly through some sort of communication forum. So, with that being said, hey child, whatever dancing or whatever you're gonna do, can you like do it somewhere like way that way? You're distracting your mom. Yeah, you have bright colors and you're cute. And can you go that way? Yep. Thanks, baby. Okay, so how many of you have heard of separation of church and state? We've all been taught that's a thing that is super important, right? That you have to have separation of church and state. Our government tells us that. For those of you who don't know, that's actually not anywhere in the Constitution.
Right.
In fact, I'm going to proudly stand up here and say that we do actually get our rights from God, not the government, and the government tells us, the legitimate documents and authority of government tells us that we get our rights from God. So I've recently had some people reach out to me and say that they've been in law enforcement for years and, you know, they appreciate in general the work that I'm doing, but they felt it necessary to tell me that I was interjecting my personal opinions about my religious beliefs into the situation and it was inappropriate. I'm actually here to quote, just not from the Bible. You guys can do that on your own time. I'm going to quote a few small things here. 1, we are all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. And most of you, or at least some of you, I'm assuming, will know that's from our Declaration of Independence. I think it's great, but I didn't write it, so I can't take credit. Also in our Declaration of Independence, it says that when the government is destructive of securing these rights, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. These aren't just words on an old piece of paper that, you know, back when things got tough and we had, you know, big wars and whatever, and now we're all civilized and we don't do that. This is real stuff that we really need to understand and think about right now. When the government abuses our rights and usurps its authority, the Declaration of Independence tells us that it is our right, it is our duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for our future security. Security in that sense, if you look at the whole context of everything, security is then the same concept of security that's brought through in our U.S. Constitution. And security doesn't mean when we're scared we can have our mommy and daddy hold us tight and tell us it's going to be okay and tell us what to do and whatever. Security is to protect the rights that God gave us. That's the security we're talking about here. And we, the people of the United States, in order to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution. That's, of course, in our U.S. Constitution preamble. Secure the blessings of liberty. Blessings from whom? Obviously, right? And of course, in our state constitution, I'm actually pretty proud of our state constitution because it's a little more clear. And it says that we, the people of the state of Michigan, grateful to Almighty God for the blessings of freedom and earnestly desiring to secure these blessings undiminished to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution. I don't get how much clearer it could be. God gave us our rights. We, the people of Michigan, are grateful for those rights, and we want to exercise these undiminished, so we're going to create a state government to secure those rights, period. That's it. The U.S. Constitution gets a little bit more in depth about all kinds of different things because we had just, come out from underneath a whole bunch of tyranny going on. But the state constitution, it really makes it straight and to the point. So, guess I'm not quite done. Sorry. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage other rights retained by the people, not created by the people, not imagined by the people, but retained by the people that God gave us. That's in our 9th Amendment of our U.S. Constitution, and we have almost word for word the exact same statement in our state constitution, Article 1, Section 23. And then it also says in our U.S. Constitution, in the 10th Amendment, we all know that the powers not delegated to the federal or state governments are reserved to the people, to the states, or to the people. And, of course, in our state constitution, after our phenomenal preamble, Article 1, Section 1 says that all political power is inherent in the people. All political power. That doesn't mean Whitmer gets to keep some of it for herself, or MDHHS has, some power over us. We the people, keep the power. So with that in mind, it would be important to, understand exactly, how are we supposed to use these rights? So we've been conditioned as the decades have gone on, and our government grows bigger in state, local, and federal governments. And the restrictions just keep coming. And, whether you're thinking about a seatbelt law, or whether you're thinking about licensing for a business, or, having a, barber's, I don't know, there's some sort of licensing board. I don't know if it's the same for you as it is for Carl. Anyway, just things that you don't even think about as being a regulation. We have a regulation for everything. So for us, alive here in this day and age, we then basically turn that into, that's just the way it's done, even if we don't like it, or even if we think it's not supposed to be that way. And then soon enough, the question starts to become, where in the Constitution or where in the law does it tell me that I have the right to do X, Y, Z? I can't tell you how many, I'm not kidding, thousands and thousands of people since April 1st have called me to ask me that. Well, where in the law does it say that I have the right to? And I'm going to be honest with you that when I first started getting those questions, I didn't know how to answer that. I don't know about you, but going to law school, we're not really taught about things from this perspective. Probably the farthest thing from it, I would think. Where'd you go to school? Cooley. Okay. So I went to law school in Minnesota. And I thought that I was a constitutional advocate before COVID. Well, I was honestly far from it, looking back at what I was and what I, considered to be normal or acceptable behavior from the government or from attorneys in pursuing cases. So this might all seem like it's, boring, or it's just a bunch of words and definitions and stuff, but honestly, this is the bread and butter of how we get our freedom back. Our rights are to be exercised, number one, undiminished. It says that in our state constitution preamble, our state constitution, Article 1, Section 4, state constitution, Article 5, Section 29. Our rights are to be exercised unrestrained. And let me just tell you that I have a boatload of all the constitutional provisions where I get these words. I didn't make this up myself. And it's only from our state or federal constitution that I cited here, nothing else. No cases, no case law where judges get to come up with stuff on their own that we then say is law. So when you guys have access to that, you'll be able to see that and read it and post it however you want. Share it. Share one of those pieces every day. Try to educate your neighbors and your friends and the people you used to go to church with, but maybe you go to a church now that hasn't been open to the public because they think, streaming online is safer. Whatever the situation is, share that. So our rights are to be exercised undiminished, unrestrained, unabridged, uninfringed, unviolated, undenied, undeprived, unabused, unusurped. Those are our rights. We don't get them from the government. They can't just take them away. They don't have the power unless we give them the power. And by just sitting by silently and going, well, yeah, everything they tell me is true, and COVID's scary, and we're all going to die, and it's so much worse than the flu, or whatever else the situation is. We've been buying into it, right? Or when you can have, was it 5 of you guys or 7?
7.
7, and it's just all women, right? Okay. So when you have 7 women who are hairstylists who can put their livelihood on the line and courageously, you never thought you'd say that in a million years, courageously cut hair.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
And yet, how many businesses continued to stay closed or to just, shut their doors because they were afraid of the licensing sanctions or whatever ramifications? I mean, just little old hairstylists, right? We're just, girls are just,
We're badass, not.
we're here just to be pretty, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but if women can do that, if 7 women can do it, certainly the rest of us can do it, especially if I tell you the fun stuff I've been going through with my case. Way more fun than Angela's more recently. I just blame Dawn for everything.
I didn't get in the car. They didn't look in the police car.
Oh, I had way more bad stuff happen to me than just that. If that was the end of it, then.
You can arrange it?
Is that what you just said to her?
Yeah.
That's a good friend.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll arrest you.
Yeah. Where we going? Really?
Might have.
So here's the other thing. Government has no authority except that which we the people give them. So again, just some quick context. Our Declaration of Independence says that to secure our unalienable rights such as life, liberty, and property, or the pursuit of happiness actually in that document, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That we the people of the United States, this now says it in the preamble to our U.S. Constitution, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. That the United States shall guarantee to every state in the Union a Republican form of government. So, you know you're coming to pop quiz hour, I realize that, but it's Sunday, I gotta make sure you're awake. How many know exactly what a Republican form of government really is? Okay, I didn't really.
They took it away there.
Nobody's taken anything away from me until my dying day. So they tried there. They're still trying. A Republican form of government is, so we all hear that we have a democracy, right? We actually don't have a democracy. We have a Republican form of government, a representative form of government where we the people retain power, and then we elect people to do the administrative tasks of government, essentially, to make those day-to-day decisions where we still retain the power. We're still the boss. And that's guaranteed to each and every one of us all across the United States in Article 4, Section 4 of our U.S. Constitution. So, you might hear these things and we hear a lot of phrases being thrown around a lot, like the rule of law, like Bridget McCormick is a rule of law justice. Okay. I'd like to see that somewhere in one of the decisions that have been coming out, but it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to really look at what the term means. And the term Republican form of government is a serious term, and it means we have the power. They all work for us. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which are made in pursuance thereof, so every single law, every federal law that is constitutional, the Constitution and the laws, federal laws that follow the Constitution shall be means must be or is. You can't argue with it. It's not a suggestion. The supreme law of the land. They trump everything. And judges in every state shall be bound thereby. So, like a court of claims judge who seems to think that the governor can just keep issuing executive orders because she just wants to tear apart the really bad parts of the legislature's argument that they had that day. That's not going to cut it. Every single judge is bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding, that simply means, I should have put you in gray. That would have been more helpful.
She's so cute.
She is kid number 4, so she's our
I've got one of
cutest.
those too. Like, whatever.
So, and I will say kid number 4 when there's 10 years between kid number 3 and kid number 4. So, so so we have our state constitutions, and some people argue about local control, right? That everything should be local control. And to a certain degree, that's right. But your local government has to be subservient to the control that we've placed over them in our U.S. Constitution. Our U.S. Constitution controls over all that. So you can't have a local ordinance, for example. I don't really want to talk about local ordinances yet. That's not my story about Election Day. But they have to follow the U.S. Constitution. You can't have, even if it's, I don't know, 50% of your community gets together and they want to vote to do X, Y, Z. If it blatantly violates the U.S. Constitution, you can't do it just because it's local government that's doing it, like your local school board's doing it. That's about as local as you can get, right? Your city councils, your township boards. I think every single one of us know boards like that, or most, if not all of the boards that we know like that are local in nature and they're still not following the Constitution. How scary would that be if there was truly an argument that they didn't have to follow the Constitution because the local government controls? That'd be terrifying. We wouldn't be a country. So every single law and even every single constitutional provision in state constitutions have to follow the U.S. Constitution. There are pieces of our state constitution that violate the U.S. Constitution. They're not constitutional. That might sound like, what? They're not constitutional. If your state constitution has something in there that violates the U.S. Constitution, it's not enforceable. So I just want you guys to think about that. I'm going to just kind of let that, I know I'm loading you up with all kinds of crazy stuff today. All state and federal senators, representatives, executive officers, like a health department official or whatever, law enforcement, and judicial officers shall be bound by oath to support the United States Constitution. And that is in the Article 6 of our U.S. Constitution. In order to prevent, this is something I didn't even realize existed until recently. I mean, like 2 weeks ago, recently. Hey, Mike, any chance you want to get your child to play, like just anywhere where I'm not distracted? That would be really great. Thank you. And she's your child because she's irritating me. When she's perfect, she's mine. Right, Angela? That works. Yeah.
My boys. Sometimes.
I only have one boy. Phew. Can't imagine what your house is like.
Everything's glued and dented.
Just for her.
Yeah. Yeah, throwing things at them.
Rabble rousing. In order to prevent misconstruction or abuse of its powers, further declaratory and restrictive clauses were added to the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution. Further restrictive clauses were added to prevent misconstruing or abusing powers. I'm just like reiterating those words for a second. They were added to the Constitution, and as extending the ground of public confidence in the government. So by doing so, by adding these restrictions so they can't misconstrue things and they can't, usurp their authority or abuse their powers, it was then extending the amount of confidence people would have in their government. It was best ensuring a beneficent ends of its institution so that it's beneficial to those that are, the people here. So what all this says is that it is the preamble to our Bill of Rights. How many of you ever knew we had a preamble to the Bill of Rights? Hey, smarty pants. Gosh. And you should have told me that because I didn't even know this till like 2 weeks ago. We've been friends for way longer than that.
I apologize.
Where you been?
So here's the thing. Most constitutions out there, if you look, even if you go to like, I don't know, whatever, like us.gov archives or something like that, most constitutions out there, the U.S. Constitution, the versions of it don't have that. I don't even know how I came across it. I think it was while I was well, I'll tell you about some of my projects I have that I'm working on. But while I was looking for a good version of the Constitution, like formatting wise, which will make sense in a minute, I came across that and I went, what is that? And I had to read it 6 or 7 times to myself. And then I'm like, holy cow, how did I not know that was there this whole time? Because my friend Dar let me down.
Sorry.
But it's cut out.
What more do you want? I got a whole thing on the militia if you want.
Right, we still have a lot of conversations to hear about. Hey, at least you got me to buy a gun, right? That was the most important thing. So, although I need more training.
Just ask.
So, let's see here. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. We've all heard that. It's in the 14th Amendment, but it says no state shall. It means, dummies, you can't do it. If you're abridging my rights guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution, you don't have a right to do it. All officers, legislative, executive, and judicial, before entering upon the duties of their respective offices, shall take and subscribe the following oath or affirmation. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state. Article 11, Section 1 of our state constitution. Every single officer, no matter what branch of government you're in, you have to take the constitutional oath. You have to take that oath of office. And I didn't have it in there here because I have it somewhere else, but maybe some of you know this. Raise your hand afterwards and tell me if you do. But how many of you knew that we have a law, MCL 15.151, that says if you work for the government in any capacity, even if you volunteer for the government, if you're an independent contractor, well, you can't really read it. Think, well, you're cheating back there. You and I have had way too many conversations to raise your hand.
It's printed right here.
Oh, the whole law is? Oh, okay. Well, it says if you work for the government at all, you have to take this oath of office. Not just you're an official, but you could be the janitor. Is that how you read that? Yep. You're going to be the school bus driver. You could be the cafeteria lady in an elementary school.
An election volunteer.
You could be an election volunteer. You could be the PR person working in the governor's office. Wonder how many oaths they've taken.
Gotta go back to it. Militia member.
They don't work for the government, though.
No, they do not.
Serve the people.
They do.
Actually, that includes anybody. It says any able-bodied person. Well, it says any able-bodied man, but then they did the act in 1901 where they tried putting an age limit on it. And
On what?
the militia, the age of a militia member,
Oh.
which is, well, you old guys, you own guns, be careful with that because they're going to try and run off from that too. But we also have what we
Well,
call-
Biden shouldn't have a gun, though. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway.
We can't put it. Sorry. But we have the posse comitatus laws, which is power of the county, which is different. Anybody from age 15 on up, they didn't put an age limit on it. So that's what we're going off from after they roll out their gun control.
So the reason why I bring this up to you is because, well, that guy in the back and I were working on this plan, and I know it's like you feel like it's come to a grinding halt, but I guarantee you it hasn't. And we're going to get people in 83 counties to do this before we really go. I mean, the more I think about it, we're going to... 7? So the other 76, what are you slacking on, dude?
I drive a truck and farm and well, so.
Excuses.
Women can do all that in their sleep while homeschooling. I mean, come on now. No, I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, it's something I never realized either. I'm going to pick on the other attorney in the room. Did you ever hear about that? Right? I mean, it's like they don't tell us this stuff, right?
Is it the
I
grand
mean,
jury?
what's that?
Is it the grand jury stuff? The We the People grand jury?
Oh, no.
Sovereign state
Nope,
stuff?
just related to this oath of office that I just read to you. So, you can't be telling secrets. What are you doing? But every single government employee has an oath of office. How many times, especially during COVID, have you heard someone well-intentioned or not, say, I'm just doing what my boss told me to do. I'm just following the governor's orders. I'm just whatever, right? Yeah. I'm thinking that in your mind, you're each raising your hand emphatically, even though you look like I'm putting you to sleep.
As they were in my place.
So it's very important that we know, because we need to make sure they know that they don't. We don't answer to them; they answer to us. They have zero power unless we gave it to them in the Constitution or we're giving it to them by consent now. That's it. So what does this mean for business owners that want to open up? What kind of sign, just put it simply, what kind of sign can you put on the front doors of, say, your restaurant if you want to open up and you've just been told by some crazy blonde that the sign that you've seen too many other businesses put up, it doesn't actually state the law correctly, and you're like, oh crap, yeah, I probably should fix that. But you want something. Well, you can put up a sign that says, as a notice, and they make businesses put up 15 different signs anyway right now, so they can't claim, well, I didn't see that amongst all the other ones. No.
Take the mask sign down.
Yep, take your mask sign down. Take any of those ridiculous signs down. Take your 25% capacity, 10 p.m. curfew, whatever else, take them all down. Put up a sign that says, as guaranteed in the U.S. and Michigan constitutions, I have the right to, number one, be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. I'm not going to read to you all the constitutional provisions because that's on the document I shared and that I'll share further with you. But you guys all know that one anyway, right? I hope. If you've seen Law and Order enough times, you know you have that right. If you are not a law enforcement officer, you may not enter without a warrant unless you are simply here in the normal course of business of being a paying customer. That's the first thing you're going to tell them. If you are a law enforcement officer, you may only enter, 1, in the normal course of being a paying customer, 2, with a valid warrant, particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized, 3, or upon personally and concurrently, witnessing the commission of a misdemeanor or felony for which a term of imprisonment is a possible legal penalty. If they witness you committing a civil infraction, they have no right to come and search and seize anything. Because you can't even, if you can't serve jail time for the offense that you are guilty of committing, then they can't arrest you. They can't confine you if you can't be sentenced to confinement for the crime itself. Unfortunately, a lot of our law enforcement officers don't know that, at least in Allegan County. You also want to let them know as part of this, right? They have to keep in mind that it is not a crime of any kind for you to operate your business. Just as the governor cannot exercise legislative authority in making executive orders in which she attempts to regulate the people, the director of MDHHS, whether it's the old one or the new one, that person's also an executive officer. And they too cannot exercise legislative authority in making emergency orders in which he or she attempts to regulate the people. Violating an emergency order is not a valid crime. Sure, there's a statute on the books that says you're committing a misdemeanor if you violate an executive order or an emergency order. There's actually all kinds of horrible penalties. If you really read the statutes that are still on the books, like the Emergency Management Act of 1976, the one that the legislature convinced everyone was still okay, and then we just needed to get rid of the 1945 law. The 1976 law has all kinds of crazy stuff in there. If you don't actively do whatever you can to support these orders being enforced, then you're supposedly committing a crime. If you don't offer up your home or business to be utilized for even practicing for enforcing these orders during a practice emergency, you're committing a crime. That's in the 1976 law. There's even more. I won't scare you. Just know that it's all garbage and it all needs to go.
It's like the government or redcoats.
Except for, I think, redcoats make it obvious they're taking your freedoms. And so far, we've had a lot of people trying to be sneaky about it, I guess. Let's see. There is a plain requirement for the laws and regulations to be drawn so as to give citizens fair warning as to what is illegal. That are, oh wait, that's weird. Okay, well, it says that it's a Michigan Supreme Court case from 1965, but I am 90% certain it's from a United States Supreme Court case. Either way, it's a Supreme Court case, and I'll have to double check that site. But those are the words from the justices themselves. And it's obvious, right? I mean, we all know we have due process. You cannot be denied any life, liberty, or property without due process of law. We just don't always know what that means. Well, this is explaining if you don't have fair warning given to citizens of what's illegal, you can't expect them to know it's illegal. So that's not appropriate. There is no fair notice to citizens as to what activity is illegal if we're saying to people that violating the emergency order or an executive order, we'll just call them an EO, violating an EO is illegal. Okay, so what activity is that? What fair notice do you have? Well, this week, it's if you have your business operating at more than 25% capacity, or if you're open at 10:05 p.m. Next week, it might be that you're not making all of your patrons wear 2 masks, one on top of the other, like the woman that came to my house today. It's some of this stuff seems really obvious, but again, it's stuff that we need to really make sure that we understand verbatim so that we can educate those around us. Unquestionably, and this is a Michigan Supreme Court case, unquestionably, due process requires notice of which conduct the regulation prohibits. The constitutional requirement of definiteness is violated by a statute that fails to give a person of ordinary intelligence fair notice that his conduct is forbidden. So he shall not be held criminally responsible for that conduct if there's no notice given. So if there's something that the law itself does not tell you what conduct is illegal, which I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that, I don't know, like literally every administrative rule and regulation out there, because the law just says, well, you have to follow what the barber licensing board rules, or if MDHHS has rules, or if MIOSHA has rules, right? We have all these regulations against us, but the only body that has the authority to make rules or regulations for us in our state is our legislature. They can't just assign it away to somebody. Sure, we have some case law that says that, but we'll get to that.
Catherine,
Yep.
can you relate this to the liquor licenses of these businesses and what that means for them, and how they go at 100% capacity with the threat of losing the liquor license? How do they fight that process?
Bill Finger.
Because I know that's the biggest fear that a lot of these businesses have is just the know-how to go against these orders and what to properly do.
Did you say bring in a tanker?
Bill of a Tanger.
Oh.
A manure tank.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. So I'm gonna tie all this in. I promise you, I'm not boring you for no reason. So let's see. The legislature may not issue commands to citizens under criminal sanctions in language so vague and undefined as to afford no fair warning of what conduct might transgress them. You might think that language is all like super old stuff. That's actually only from the year 2000 in our Michigan Supreme Court. But its meaning is really powerful. We have to have that fair notice. We can't have these laws that are out there. Even a law that is actually a law, right? Not just an executive order or something, but a law that doesn't actually give you notice of what you're doing is illegal. That's not going to fly either. And legislative bodies cannot legitimately enact a statute that is repugnant to the Constitution. You wouldn't think we'd have to wait for a 2017 Court of Appeals case to spell it out like that, since, I don't know, we just talked about the Article 6 stuff, but yet we keep seeing this where they think they can just do whatever they want. We're also guaranteed equal protection of the laws. So, whatever your beliefs are about COVID-19, its genesis, or its fatality rate, or any of that stuff, I think we can all agree that COVID-19 is no more contagious or fatal in a restaurant than it is a grocery store or a movie theater or an office building or in a school setting. COVID is COVID, so if it is fatal, it's fatal. And it doesn't stop killing people, you know, before 10, like after 10 p.m., then all of a sudden it's like super fatal. Or if you go from 25% to 26% capacity, then all of a sudden people are going to die. That doesn't make any sense. We're being denied equal protection of the laws because some businesses get to have this capacity, some have this, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. And through friends that I have, and many of you probably know, people like Kristen Megan and Tammy Clark. Kristen Megan is the PPE expert that's been going around the country, certainly around the state, and Tammy Clark is with Stand Up Michigan. And they've been working with an attorney to do FOIA, different requests, and they've recently released an open letter that disclosed all of the information that MDHHS actually had to turn over and say, yeah, we have no scientific data to back up what we're doing at all. If you want to see that letter, if you haven't seen it, it's on my website, so please check it out.
That's not uncommon. They had that toast ordinance they had here in Berry County for 10 years or something like that, 12 years. And they had no data backing up that ordinance they did. They had no data before, they had no data during, no data after.
Fun times.
Time of sale and transfer with that as with your home. And would it cost an extra $400 or something like that?
As long as nothing's wrong.
Yeah. And what they did is they said any house that was at a certain age or older, and it wasn't that old of a house either. And but nobody ever tested the water beforehand before they passed that ordinance, and nobody tested it afterwards.
Fun stuff the government has us do. This is one that I think gets ignored the most with all these COVID restrictions, and this is one that I don't care what kind of business you have or if you don't own a business, if you just want to have a setting like this, but we wanted to pack this room like I did when I was in Bad Axe recently, and I walked in, there's probably, I don't know, 300 or so people in the room. That's okay because we have a right to peaceably assemble. And that doesn't go away with COVID. None of these rights go away with COVID. In fact, we're going to exercise these rights, what was that? Undiminished, unrestrained, unabridged, yada, yada, right? So we have the right to peaceably assemble. We don't have to ask the government for permission to do that. We may peaceably assemble on any government property traditionally open to the public, and or on any private property generally open to the public. You know, so if there's like a outdoor mall area, Birch Run or whatever, and you're just like passing out pamphlets with, you know, 3 of your friends, whatever, about the Constitution, you have a right to do that. If you're not being violent or committing some sort of crime, you have a right to do that because they don't have an expectation of privacy there. And also, I mean, if you're like in somebody else's house or something that's not generally open to the public, but you have the owner's permission, well, the government doesn't have a right to say you can't be there peaceably assembling. So we cannot be arrested, fined, or given any other punishment for exercising this right at all. So that fun one that Dar was trying to let us know about, that bill of attainder, again, I'm an honest person. I had no idea what the heck that was. No, not just now. But until I started putting all this in, I literally read our entire state constitution, U.S. Constitution, front to back multiple times as I started to put together my arguments and briefs against the governor's orders in the cases that were in the Supreme Court. And with each brief that I would write and file with the Court of Appeals or with the Supreme Court on these, I learned something new. And shame on me, because I should have already known it. Hopefully you don't take that as offense since we have the same, like, you know, but I didn't realize what I wasn't doing that I should have been doing, or what I didn't know that I should have known. And who knows, maybe the two of us will change how law school education happens all over the country in the next, 40 years. He's like, oh crap, what did I sign up for here? So a bill of attainder is a special legislative act prescribing or prohibiting prescribing punishment without a trial for a specific person or group. So for example, if you have, say, a bunch of Carl the Barbers who are having their barber shops open and not breaking any laws other than just being open, a bill of attainder is something where, you know, they would have a summary license suspension where MDHHS is saying, and these orders are saying, Robert Gordon actually instituted this first order, I want to say at the end of March, before anybody really knew he was a problem. And anyway, that these bills of attainder, these punishments that are being handed out by licensing, whether it's a liquor license or, you know, just a general business or operating license, they're happening without a true hearing or trial on it. And then you can try to go and fight it under the administrative rules and regulations and procedures that we have. But then in the meantime, you don't have a license. So then your vendors aren't going to sell to you, or, you know, whatever that relationship looks like, you're screwed over in the meantime. That's not how our system works. That is literally violating the Constitution in 3 different places. You say 2?
In the U.S., 2, and the state 1.
Exactly. That's why we're friends. They thought it was so important when they put it in our U.S. Constitution. It's in Article 1, by the way, that it's not only in Section 9, but they were like, wait, we really want to make sure you guys get this. We're going to put it in Section 10, too. So, and we all know we are not to be deprived our life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Well, again, this will tell them, this is your statement that you can post saying this business is my property and prohibiting me from running my business via enforcement of MDHHS orders denies me due process of law. You had no hearing on them coming and shutting you down or prohibiting 75% of your normal customer base to be able to be there. There was no due process involved in that whatsoever. You have the right to follow through on all of your business contracts without government interference. This is I think a special one, something that I think they're just trying to make it easy for us. In the U.S. Constitution, you can find this in Article 1, Section 10, and in the state Constitution, you can find it in Article 1, Section 10. I think that's the only time anything's ever in the same spot in both constitutions. Super important. They wanted to make it easy to find. You have a right to exercise your right to contract, to follow through on your business contracts. So in other words, in the business context, you have a right to run your business without any government interference with those contracts. And you're telling these officials, if you attempt to stop me from running my lawful business, you are violating my constitutionally protected right. And of course, you have the right to exercise unabridged all the other rights that are given to you by God. We don't ask for our permission to live, work, or simply be in public. We don't ask the government for permission to do those things. Those rights were given to us by God, and the government is bound to protect those rights. And I'm not going to go on a long explanation of this, but just to be clear, the rights that are guaranteed to us in the Constitution are not just guaranteed to us in the sense that, well, the government can't do these things to us. The original purpose, again, remember, is to ensure that we have our rights, to ensure that when I'm exercising my rights given to me by God, that I'm not trampling on hers. So when there's a dispute about the exercise of rights, government's supposed to step in to help us resolve that dispute so that it's a fair process, so that one person's exercise of rights cannot just, without any process whatsoever, just take over and eliminate the other person's right to exercise their rights. So a private business owner does not have the right to say, I'm going to force you to do this, this, and this. I'm going to force you to give me your phone number and all your contact information, and you have to scan this QR code because we're going to do contact tracing because MDHHS tells me I have to do that. A private business does not have the right to say, you have to wear masks, which, by the way, actually spread COVID-19 more than they stop it from spreading, but I'm going to just go blindly along with whatever my government tells me. You don't have a right to do that. Just the same as the things that we understand we already know that are ingrained into us, right? The very people that are pushing this agenda are the same people that pushed, at least at times when it's convenient to them, well, you don't have the right to discriminate based on somebody who's in a wheelchair just because you don't want their tire tracks on the floor of your business because it's a pretty cute little boutique that you own. Or, somebody whose skin color doesn't match what you want it to be, whether you're discriminating against white people or black people or Asian people or whatever the case may be. We all know that, right? You can't discriminate against somebody because they're not married, and you want to only, if you have I'm going to pick on, if Angela wanted to cut hair only for people that if they have kids, they have to be married. If you're divorced or if you have kids and you were never married, well, she's going to make sure that she never cuts your hair because of that alone. I mean, if you had a sign that said that, I mean, there's just things that are inherently wrong. Now, again, the other side that's pushing this agenda, this is the same people that have said, well, if you're a baker, and you're going to be forced as a Christian baker to bake a cake for a gay couple. Now, here's the thing. You can bake a cake. You don't have to decorate it in ways and put messaging on there that doesn't fit with your beliefs, but you have to bake a cake. You have to be able to offer a pizza to somebody, no matter what belief system they have. If you're going to offer it to this person, you can offer it to that person, or if they're in a wheelchair or not. Do you have to, provide catering service and go into an event where you feel uncomfortable because it's a totally different belief system and they're celebrating things that go against your beliefs? No. Well, you can bake the pizza or bake the cake or whatever. See, there's a difference. Uh-oh, I see trouble on your face. Yeah.
This is, and no practice Muslim or so forth. It shows you exactly how second the government part is. There was a guy, I think it was from Texas, who took a truckload of hogs to a Muslim law butcher shop, and he was denied service and took it to court, and the court confirmed that that the Muslims did not have to butcher them, whereas Colorado, ultimately they weren't, but the trouble that they went through.
Right. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So it might seem like just a bunch of political garbage, but it's the stuff that every single one of us have to stop and think about because the media taints our brains on what information we're really getting. So you don't have the right to exercise your rights in a way that infringes upon other people's rights, but you do have the right to exercise your own rights. And it's a balance. And sometimes it isn't easy. That's why we have government instituted to secure our rights, to secure our blessings of freedom, because sometimes it's truly an unintentional, innocent way of, well, I just want to ensure that my rights are secured. I'm not trying to violate anybody's rights. And yet sometimes it happens. So again, I don't want to go down the whole rabbit hole on that, but just to be clear, some people are saying, well, no, if it's a private organization, they can do whatever they want. No, they can't. Otherwise, we wouldn't have all kinds of laws on the books and all kinds of case history and things where that's been an issue. So again, if you put a sign like this on your doors, you can tell them that if you are a government official or government agent and you attempt to enter my premises to interfere with my business operations in any way or to otherwise enforce the MDHHS orders against me, you will be guilty of trespassing. And I won't bore you with what's on here, but the Supreme Court of Michigan has made it clear what that looks like and how this fits that definition. You're not going to be able to claim as a government official, well, I'm just doing my job or I'm just following orders. Because, as the Michigan Supreme Court told us, and we all know this to be true, ignorance of the law is no excuse. You guys have all heard that, right? I hope. Okay. Again, law and order, if you haven't heard that, I mean, it's great. It actually teaches a lot, more than Judge Judy. Actually, two shows I watched a lot as I was in college and whatnot, but you would be violating your oath of office. All government officials, employees, and agents are bound by their oath to support the Constitution. And a little tiny sneak peek, not the whole enchilada for those in the back. If you are supposed to have an oath of office and you didn't take your oath, then your office is considered vacant. And there's certain government officials that it's their job then to announce that and to get the process rolling to get that vacancy filled, for what it's worth. And eventually, when I get free time, I'm not sure when that's going to happen again, I'm actually going to compile every single court rule and every single statute that we have in Michigan, or even pieces in our state constitution where it says, if you're going to do this, you have to take an oath of office. Because I'm not kidding you, there's hundreds of times it says that, and people don't realize it.
Right, these oaths have been taken for years, right?
Mm-hmm.
We turn around and sue them, get their back paid because there's a vacant office.
Ooh, that does sound fun. Maybe you could talk some other attorneys to helping in that fight. That could be really lucrative, and I should be the one jumping on that, but I know I have friends like those in this room that'll keep me busy on some other fun things that maybe won't bring me money. But
For what it's worth, I contacted Jeff Biker's office on that and said there wasn't enough money in it for him. Although it did make it to their panel.
oh boy, I won't even. Any of these government officials that are stepping foot on your property to enforce these orders, put this sign up that lets them know they're guilty of malicious prosecution. It's a crime, but it's also something you can sue them for. They might very well be guilty of abuse of process. They're abusing a legitimate process in such a way that, as applied in that situation, it's abusing the authority that they have to do that. They'd actually be guilty of a federal felony, just not the one that the Constitutional Law Group tells you that they'd be guilty of. They'd actually be guilty of several. I've still been digging up new ones, but I put one of them in here so you at least have something to post on your door. And this one says that if 2 or more people are conspiring to deprive someone of their constitutionally protected rights, they're committing a federal felony. I don't know how much clearer it could be than that. And they're going to be subject to civil damages because our federal laws, 42 USC section 1983, allows for citizens to recover damages from government employees and officials personally, meaning that whole governmental immunity that they're all so arrogant about thinking they get to hide behind doesn't exist because they have acted outside of the scope of what their authority actually allows them to do. So that's all the fun stuff that is the meat and potatoes, I guess you could say, of trying to boil it down into something that, again, their stuff's going to be way more wordy than this for you to post all over if you did that. Their orders are certainly way more wordy than this. This will put them all on notice of what they're doing. And so I wouldn't print it in black and white. I'd figure out a way to get the color version, print it off. Make it how, if you're a graphic design person and you know how to make it jazzed up and do whatever, do whatever you need to do so that it's like right in their face when they come to your business.
We have them disarmed too.
Say that again? What?
Is that gonna stop them? If that one little sign on the door are gonna be like, whoop, not gonna mess with you then. Or are they still gonna come in, bust our balls, shut us down, fine us?
Take our license.
There goes our waitresses don't have work, our cooks don't have work. Do we have to put up with all this while we wait to go to court?
So, number
Where's the
one,
protection for us?
if I had a Staples Easy button, I'd be a millionaire already. So I don't have that. So this is not a Staples Easy button, but it is the groundwork for helping you, all your customers, all your employees, and every government official to start to understand what's going
What
on.
the true law is.
Can you imagine the power? And I'm not saying this because I think I'm super cool and I came up with something other people didn't. But can you imagine the power that if these words were posted on the business on the front door of even 10% of the businesses in every community across Michigan, what power that would have?
Strength. You have strength in numbers.
Yeah.
You stand up, they'll stand up. Someone else will stand up. The government will start to fear you, as they should.
The only reason why they're winning right now is because we're letting them, right? But the only reason why so many people are letting them is because they've been given whatever the message is. It's a simple marketing thing. If they tell you the same message 7 times, by then you're like, well, shoot, it must be true. It could be the McDonald's, new burger that's out is like super delicious and I can get it super quick, or whatever the message is that they're giving you, right? Same thing works for the government. So the more that message is conveyed, and now the media is obviously not going to do any, I mean, there's been conspiracy theories, for years about the media, right? But now we know, there's no denying it. The media is not really the media that we know it to be, or that it should be. So,
but this is all meant to intimidate you.
Yep.
And once they know that you're no longer intimidated, they've lost that power. And it's scary. This is scary. I mean, for just a normal person going about your day, making your money, supporting your family, now all of a sudden you have to stand up against the government.
Yep.
And your mortgage doesn't get paid, and your property taxes don't get paid, and nothing gets paid. Your employees don't get paid. So I think that's we'll all stick it on our doors, no problem. But
it's not the end of what.
It's not going to stop them.
It is going to be the thing that is going to start to stop them. I don't have nothing I have to offer you, nothing that anybody has to offer. Listen, troublemaker, I'm going to call on you in just a minute, but
there has to be due process.
He's over there cooking up some stuff back there.
They can't go in there and take your licenses and rip them up.
Still,
You have to have a hearing.
so how do you operate that?
That's what I'm saying.
Can you just keep serving alcohol? Can I just keep brewing beer?
Well, we don't
You have to have a hearing though.
a liquor license at State Street Diner, so we don't have things to worry about like that. So ours is our business license, and whether we can have our doors open and operate and legally employ people and things like that. So,
I tell you what I would do. I don't care what business I have. I'm going to follow the Constitution and the constitutionally enacted laws. And if I'm following those laws, then I don't care what government official tells me that I'm doing it wrong, I'm still going to keep doing it. And is it going to be hard? Like if is a bar owner, are there liquor suppliers that are going to say, well, I'm not going to sell to you because then I might be in trouble. Sure, you might have to find other ways to do things. If you're a business owner, you might have your business, general business license pulled, or you might have, it's not going to be easy, but I'll tell you what, 2021, no one is going to come to you with easy answers. If they do, they're lying to you. And nothing is going to be done in one case or in one setting or in one, planned event. It's a whole series of stuff. And this is going to be one step that you need to tell every single person you know about it. Because the more people, just think about it. Any government official that's been busting your chops over this stuff, just think about what it's going to do to their mind if they're going around in this business and then this and then this, and they're seeing a sign like this, and they're like, what is that? Especially if it does look exactly the same.
Do they believe that that's real? Do they know that that's real? Or are they being told by their bosses that, nah, that ain't real?
I don't care what they're told. The more and more people that see it, the more it's going to be like, wait, what? And all they have to do is read one sentence on here and go, huh? And then start thinking about it. Now, again, you have no idea how long it's going to take. You don't know. Some of these government officials are going to dig their heels in, and they don't care. It could be, well, let's put it this way. The Supreme Court of Michigan told the governor that her stinking orders were illegal and unconstitutional, and they only addressed the question on one teeny tiny piece, but it's one that, applies just the same way to the current order she's using. And yet she just ignores that.
Health department is included in that, so.
Yes, it is.
They are, yep. Now I tried to argue when she lost, and remember she told everybody, oh, I still have at least 21 more days of these orders, right? Okay. She knew she didn't. And so she immediately on Monday, that was a Friday, and that Monday she immediately filed with the Supreme Court a request to have her orders given at least 28 more days. And of course, the plaintiff, they filed their response, and the legislature, because they were just amicus, they're just non-parties, just like I was, they filed their response, and then I filed my response. And luckily, the Supreme Court did their job to a certain degree. The following Monday, and they issued that, like, hey, no, you're not getting another crack at the apple here. But what I was trying to do is draw that connection and get the Supreme Court right then and there to recognize that the MDHHS orders that she was clearly telling people, well, I don't care what the Supreme Court says, I'm going to keep using all the tools at my disposal. And she was letting us know she's going to keep going down that road. I was like, hey, guys, hey, could we address this since it's already in front of you and she's going to keep doing the exact same thing just under a different law? If it's an unconstitutional delegation of power to her in violation of Article 3, Section 2 of our state constitution under this law, and it's still the same executive department that's doing the same orders just under a different statute, it's still unconstitutional. Now, so I'm under the impression, my opinion is, they didn't do their job because they got out easy by just answering just the question that was presented to them and not the actual bigger question about, can you keep doing this at all? No. And then they claim, well, it wasn't the proper question before the court, or, the attorneys didn't brief that issue or whatever. Well, at least one attorney did, and it should have been stopped. So you're right. And we need to keep doing whatever we can to stop this. So what are some other things that you can do? Well, yeah. When you have that smirk, I'm afraid to ask you what you want to say.
So the question as far as your business license and so forth, one of the issues that you guys have is the agency that you guys get all of your licensing through does not respect the Constitution. And that's one thing that I stumbled upon when we figured out what Katherine was talking about, oath of office, and hopefully we can follow through on the rest. Where you do have a voice, as far as the paper goes, there's going to be a lot of people at the health department. When they come to your door, they're not going to look at that paper as anything more than toilet paper. But what you can do is you can call your county commissioner. That entire health department serves at the pleasure of our board of commissioners, and they meet right up here every single Tuesday. We had, I can tell you, John Smelker is on your side. You guys have no idea how he right now, what John Smelker wants to do is he wants to introduce a resolution that will force the health department to stop enforcing, stop investigating any of the additional MDHHS orders. And when I told him my idea, he said he took the words right out of his mouth. Because what's going on right now is Colette Scrimger, who is the health officer for the Very Health District, has been threatened by the state if she does not enforce these orders, that she will see personal financial repercussion if she just does her thing. But however, what I'm trying to get the Board of Commissioners to do, and I just need people to flood their phones because they do bend the pressure, and that is tell them, hey, you guys need an excuse. Use the vaccine as a scapegoat. I don't know if you guys know this or not right now, but our health department was just granted $250,000, $250,000, to try and get this vaccine distributed. And just say, hey, this vaccine is more essential to ending this pandemic than closing restaurants ever will be. Focus your time and attention on this vaccine. They're hiring additional people right now. They're trying to come up with different locations and so forth. That's one avenue. The second avenue is if there's a single restaurant out there that ever has any legal issues. My friend and I, we have 3 pages here. And I think that these 3 pages, I trust, will completely clear out the health department if there's ever an issue. Every single person there is not taken out of office. So I don't hope that any get fined, but if any do, I want this to go to your guys' lawyer because I think that'd be a great way to start that process. But they have no authority to fine you. They have no authority to cite you. They're going to do it anyway, and it's going to cost you money, and that's the issue. That's what you're up against. But what you can do to end this right now is put the pressure on that board of commissioners to stop the health department from enforcing it, because they're the ones that are acting as a police force. They're the ones that are taking all these complaints and sending them into the state. Grove Street Cafe and Bowen's in Delton. I've talked to both owners, and they haven't received any fines yet. But that's what our health department is doing. They're citing, or they're sending them the cease and desist orders, and they're sending this information to the state. So now they're at now they're at the mercy of the state's attorney general, and we don't know who she is. But if we can keep our health department from being the police force, being the tattletale, then at least the business owners in this county can rest assured that the county has their back. And right now, we don't have that. Last but not least, when that protest that Chuck and I put on, of course, I didn't know how to reach out to you guys, but we did reach out to some business owners, none of them that are here. And we were kind of let down that only one of them showed. And, you know, if another protest is what it takes, we've got another one. We had over 200 people there that came through over the course of the day. We served 158 burgers and over 200 hot dogs, and we'll do it again. So.
Well, and I have some information about some ways to connect to share too. Did you have a question though?
My question for you, I know they can take your licenses in all these businesses, and I'm not a business owner, so I don't have a dog in the fight with that, but what happens if we the people ignore, if they try to find you, don't pay it, or say, you know, I have to stay open anyway if they take your licenses?
That's what I would do.
I mean,
We were told to pay our fines.
Pardon me?
I didn't pay my fines.
Yeah.
I mean, how they gonna,
If they take your license,
If I was
Right.
following every constitutional law that has been enacted, and I was following the restrictions properly placed on me in the Constitution for not violating the rights of other people, then I would keep exercising my rights. I don't care what dumb government agent told me I couldn't do that.
Now, don't you need a hearing before they suspend it?
No, the summary license suspensions that I was talking about, that's a bill of attainder. That's what they're doing. MDHHS orders say that you have a referral. If you're violating the MDHHS orders, you have a referral directly over to the, the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, and they're supposed to just suspend your license, and then if you want it back, you have to jump through a bunch of hoops.
No, Carl Mankey, his was suspended. And then he had a hearing and he won with the result was that he had to have due process. He had a hearing before his license was suspended. So that's why those of us who went to Lansing, our licenses were not suspended because of that. And I know that's different than this, but
Not exactly.
how do they have the authority just to suspend it?
Well, they
without-
don't have the authority to do any of that. That's what the whole point of bill of attainder is. But he put it in an order saying it's necessary to secure the public health. That's what it's dumb. It's like, yeah, we won't even, they don't have the authority to do any of it. How much you're willing to wage now or to risk now, it's up to you. I'm not really coming here to judge you. I'm just letting you know, if you're not willing to risk everything now, and I realize that means the livelihoods of you and every person that depends on you for a job, or every person that, is in your house that, you need to feed, or whatever the situation is, and you have medical conditions, or you have whatever bills or debt and mortgages and car payments you got to pay, whatever it is. I know I have more student loan debt than any of you probably put together, but anyway, maybe except for maybe you.
Biden's gonna get rid of it for you, right?
What's that?
Biden's gonna get rid of that for you.
No, my student loans have not been covered by any of the COVID student loan garbage. No, because mine are so old that my federal loans aren't really federal loans. They're just kind of federal loans. We won't even go there. Anyway, if you're not willing to risk it now, I can promise you, I can guarantee you by the end of 2020, you're going to wish you had. It's going to be ugly. We have got to stick together, but you've also got to be willing to be the one in your community that's going to be the only one standing up. How many attorneys do you know who will go around the whole state for free for 10 months now and tell people about this stuff and educate them and be willing to risk it, especially now knowing that the AG, the Secretary of State, and the Governor have now officially filed complaints to try to disbar people like Scott Hagerstom and Sidney Powell and Matt DePerno. How many attorneys do you know that are still willing to go around and educate people on this stuff? If you know them, introduce me, please, because we need to team up. That's my point. It hasn't been easy for me, but before I go into that, I want to let you know some tools that you can use. Now, I didn't even see, did my business cards make it around okay? Yeah. Okay. Did anybody not get one that wanted one? Okay. If you think about it, you're like, oh crap, yeah, I know I need that. Just ask that handsome guy in the back and he'll figure out a way to get you some. Oh, he's like, oh, I gotta pay attention now. He's like the kid that was caught doing something in class he wasn't supposed to be doing. So the reason why is not because my website's like super cool and it's got a lot of fancy graphics on there, because it is meant to be an information hub. I'm only one person. I usually don't sleep more than 2, 3, 4 hours a night. I haven't taken a single day off since the beginning of April 2020. I tell you that to tell you I'm working as fast as I can. I guarantee you that, and the more volunteers I have, the better. So if you know anybody that wants to come and volunteer with me anyway, even if it's 2 hours a week, let me know. But one of the things I have on there, on this website, is we have a call to action calendar. And we're going to be connecting with organizations like We the County and Guardians of Freedom, newer organizations that started on the west side of the state. I've been in talks with, in fact, it's been like 2, 3 days since I've been even able to open the message back from Tammy Clark with Stand Up Michigan. But I want to connect with every single grassroots organization, every patriot group, whether it's just in one county or it's something that exists across the state, so that if you have something going on and you want to all go and support a business that is trying to stay open and they were told the health department's coming to shut them down today, and you want to pack that place so full that they can't even squeeze in there, then you know, and you can have the availability to do that. So we have a calendar on the website right now for that. We also have, we do social media posts and blasts about these different things. We're trying to get connected so we can maybe have some automatic feeds and people are emailing out their groups about their events, and then we can get it put on our calendar. We have Restore Freedom TV network that we're trying to put together because, as you know, obviously the media is all evil and horrible, but we also know social media is terrible and it's shutting people down left and right. So what we're trying to do is hopefully by the end of today, we're going to finally break through this last technology piece, but we'll see. Wherever somebody's stuff is, like Kristen Megan, the PPE expert who's had all of her crap on the traditional sites shut down, I think she's on like Brighteon or something like that. I still have a fairly decent following on YouTube. Somebody else might only put their stuff on whatever, Patreon or something like that. Okay, all these other places, how would you find it all, right? It's going to be impossible. So Restore Freedom, there's a tab called TV, and right now I think there's like a really weird image of me in one of my videos that's like a terrible thumbnail, and I'm making a face like that. I'm going to ask my husband about why that is later on the drive home. But anyways, it is going to have like a little TV screen, and at certain times of the day, certain days of the week, we have tons of people that are signing up. Oh, I got to talk to somebody in this room about that, by the way, before I leave. No. But people that are experts in their fields, I have doctors, I have chiropractors, I have PPE experts, I have pastors, I have law enforcement. I've got all kinds of people that in 1, maybe 2 times a week for an hour, that's their time slot, and they're gonna be live talking about whatever. I even have a constitutional game show that's gonna be starting. I have all kinds of stuff that's coming, so that you can find information and have one place, so that even though we're shut off of all kinds of normal TV or even social media, you can go to that place. There's going to be like a little TV guide on the side, and you're going to be able to go, oh yeah, shoot, I can watch so-and-so. It's not actually being housed on my website, but it's going to be like a window for you to see wherever that is. And that'll grow. And hopefully other organizations will take stuff like, Stand Up has a lot more money than I do, so maybe I can convince them to start doing this with some of their technology projects. I have a Constitution app that is out. I haven't had a chance to see if they made all the corrections to the chunks of Constitution that were missing and some other stuff. But anyway, Restore Freedom is on the Apple Store, and it's on the Google Play Store. And it's the U.S. and Michigan constitutions. It did cost me $1,500 so far, and there's $50 a month. So at this point, because I've been doing all this volunteer since the beginning of April, and gas costs money and all this stuff costs money, I'm asking $1.99 one time for people to download that. I think that's coming in the next app. And you might get it for free if you go on there right now, because I think it's going to be a few days maybe until he gets that next app on there. Anyway, that's got the text of the U.S. and Michigan constitutions, and eventually it'll have two other features. One, my annotations to connect things for you. So if you're someone that's like, seriously, I read this garbage over and over again, and I just don't understand how this applies to me, you'll be able to see the pieces fit together. And also there will be basically a link within there. It might even look like it's actually in the app for We the People. What's We the People? Well, it's my new social media platform. Constitution based. If you're going to go on there talking about mandatory vaccinations or anything else that's anti-constitution, you're gone. There's no warning. So We the People, it's right now, it's not an app right now. It'll be tied in with that app, but you can find it. If you go to my website, there's actually a link right on our first page there. It does groups. It does individual profiles. If you have a business you want to make a page or profile for, you can do that. If you have Joel, like your group, if you guys want to be able to connect and you're worried about, I don't know where you connect or how you do it right now, but if you want a way that's not going to be shut down, but it's social media and anybody can have it, there you go. Create a group and get your information out there. I will be having audiobooks coming out for the Constitution for teens, kids, and adults. That's going to be a little bit later down the road, but all that information will be on there. I have an updates tab. That's the second tab on there. That's all this stuff that's coming out, like whether it's, I don't know, I didn't put like the My Pillow Guy story or information on there, but in theory, we'll get that on pretty soon. But I have a team of us that we're, being able to post just short stuff so you can see it, grab it, and run with it. This forum, that's one of the places it'll be posted on my website. There's also a resources tab for documents like this, or when we're done with our project and we want to get it spread, that's where it's going to be. So anybody can download a packet. In fact, you already have some stuff, I think you said, that I need to, well, anyway, we'll get it on my website. Basically, any resources that we have, it's all free. We just want people to use it and know about it. That's under that resources tab. There's also going to be, we have a long-term game. I would like to say that by the end of December 31st, 2021, that we have really gained some ground. But the fight's not going to be over, even if we gain a ton of ground. So we need to have real, true grassroots constitutional people put into every single position. Obviously, you guys need to do the work here in your own communities, but we want to work together statewide for all the big races. And I'm working with I'm kind of on the American Patriot Council, but I have Restore Freedom, there's American Patriot Council, there's the Patriot Hub, there's Stand Up Michigan, some of the others that I mentioned, and I'm working with them to get out a poll. Right now, the only poll I have out there is for governor. So all the grassroots people that, and my name's on there, not because I said I wanted to run, but I put people on there that have been talked about as running. So Ryan Kelly's on there. He's actually announced. When I first put him on there, he hadn't announced yet. But he's announced. He's one of the co-founders of American Patriot Council. We have all kinds of people on there. But there's also people that are not grassroots. I wanted to see how many votes they would get. Okay, so I have like Brian Kelly, or some others. Shirky, for example. Lee Chatfield. Don't assume that's because I want them to run for governor. But they've talked about it. So anyway, that poll is out there, and it might seem like a stupid little poll, but we're getting ready to blast it out to the membership of all those groups I was talking about, because we want to see really where people's opinions lie. Who do you want to see in certain roles? Because can you imagine the power that would be behind a candidate if, say, I can't even think right now. I don't know. Ryan. So Ryan Kelly, let's say he was the chosen one. Let's say we had thousands of people fill out this poll. And by the way, I do ask for information. because I'm going to go in the voter database and verify that somebody is like a real human that's filling it out, and it's not just a bunch of people filling it out over and over again to tank our results. So I don't sell that information. I don't give it away, anything like that. It tells you on the form. But can you imagine if we had thousands of legitimate Michigan voters that, you know, by and large, 70% said, we want Ryan Kelly to be the governor, the next governor of the state of Michigan? Can you imagine if all the grassroots organizations, American Patriot Council, Restore Freedom, Stand Up Michigan, We the County, you name it, every single one of them got behind that candidate? I don't care what the party said or what the media says, that's going to be unstoppable. And we can have, you know, events like right in a place like this where somebody like him could go from place to place for the next 2 years until the election. So what we're going to try to do is get that poll done and then move on to the next race, Secretary of State and whatever, go from there, Attorney General. So your voice is important in that. So I'm going to ask that you fill that out and then you share it with everybody you know. I don't know how long we're going to do because we haven't sent it officially out. It's just been kind of sitting out there and we've already had tons of people fill it out. So that's out there. We have bill watching that we're doing too. So unfortunately, what we see now isn't the worst of it. They're continuing to come up with new bills and new ways to screw us over and take away our rights. So we have volunteers that are working with that. If you want to help with that in any way, let us know. And when new bills are coming out, it'll roll right into our call to action. If it makes it through the first round of stuff and enough people tell me that it's scary, that I look at it and go, holy crap, this is scary, then I'm going to do videos and we're going to do calls to action and we're going to ask people to flood your state rep and your senator or whoever's involved to stop them. It's not just on the state level. If you have stuff happening with your county commissioners or your city council or whatever it is, you know, we want to know about it and we want to be able to get that information out and blast it because we want to make sure people all over the state of Michigan can come together and fight these things. If you're thinking that any of this is going to come without a cost, let me tell you that for those of you that don't know, I'll just briefly tell you, I wrote the Restore Freedom Initiative Constitutional Amendment Petition because that came out, mine came out before the Stand Up Michigan petition. I was addressing the Constitution, our state Constitution, to stop all those unconstitutional laws, to put all those government agencies and individuals back in check. So we didn't end up getting enough signatures, but we knew we had 180 days to collect 425,000 signatures, and we knew we needed election day. We knew we needed to be able to go to all the polls and have people set up their little stands and to have signs and be able to collect signatures of valid registered voters, right? That's going to be the best way to catch a registered voter is on election day. And state law, I don't know how many of you know this, but state law says you have to be 100 feet away from the door of the poll if you're going to do any kind of political activity at all. So I had thousands of volunteers all across the state doing this on election day. But on this particular day, I had 3 individuals that were at Allegan County, Layton Township's township office. Their library's there. They have 2 polling precincts. They were circulating the petition. They were so far from the front door that when I first pulled up later on in the day, I thought they left. They were off the pavement onto the grass and 229 feet away from the entrance of the door. Okay. And they were being threatened with being arrested for circulating their petition because the township clerk came out and said, well, I have this ordinance that says that if I don't want you here, you have to go because you didn't get my permission. You have to have my permission to be here. And then the sheriff's office came out and tell you what, they would have gotten a butt whooping if they would have been Berry County sheriff's deputies. But anyway, they came out and the sheriff's deputy that responded said, yeah, the property owner says you have to leave. And of course the question was asked, who do you think the property owner is? And he said, it's the township clerk. No, it's not. It's we, the people. Okay. So it gets more absurd. There's a lot more detail involved. But at any rate, so my volunteer, all of them were being threatened with arrest. And one of them, she's disabled. She has a prosthetic leg. And I'm like, well, how am I going to sit there and let this woman take all the heat? I'm just going to go down there. I'm going to talk to the deputy. We're going to sort it all out. I did. You know, that little beautiful girl that's wearing a lot of bright colors today, she was with me. She's homeschooled. She's with me every day. So I drove down there, and election day was pretty nice and warm, sunny day, but it was like 60 degrees. So she stayed in the car and was doing her schoolwork, having her snack, and I was 10 feet away, and I was trying to talk to the well, at first he wasn't there. So I went around, took pictures of everything, whatever. So then he got there. Didn't take him too long of not wanting to talk to me, of telling me that it's not his job to talk about what the law is, or even what this ordinance says, or what the Constitution says. That I can have my day in court, but I needed to leave the property too. And I was going to be arrested if I didn't leave the property. And he even brought the township clerk out there and called for backup because I'm really scary. And I'll just tell you that within a matter of minutes, I had 3 grown men manhandling me, physically, aggressively assaulting me, dragging me over to the sheriff's deputy's SUV, and telling me that they were taking me to jail for trespassing because I was violating this ordinance that says I can't circulate a petition. That's not what it says. They weren't even reading the ordinance. That's the thing. And it's not even an ordinance. It's a resolution. You can't regulate the people with a resolution. It's kind of like making them follow an executive order. Anyway, so they were physically assaulting me, telling me I was going to jail, telling me that my child was going to be taken to CPS, that some agent of the government was going to come and take her away, and I would never get her back. And I wasn't allowed to call my husband to come and get her. I wasn't allowed to call my husband to get my car because my car was going to be towed and impounded. And everyone there was going to be taken to jail, and none of my friends or supporters or other people that were there were allowed to have my car keys or take care of my daughter, any of that. If they tried to take care of my daughter, he was threatening to arrest them too. So fast forward, by the end of the day, I was cut here and bleeding. I had lacerations right here. I had contusions and swelling from the handcuffs and from what they were doing to me. I had contusions and bruising this big on my leg right here, bruising that showed up a couple days later here on my knee. I had an entire set of fingerprints on this arm. I could go on and on. The pictures are actually on my website. You can see them. So I was beat up by 3 grown men that should have known better, who told me my crime was trespassing on government property that's owned by the township clerk. And whenever she says somebody's got to go, they got to go. And they said it's not their job to read the law, to read the resolution, to read the Constitution, that if I want to fight it, I'll have my day in court. So I was released because I had been live streaming it on YouTube.
We saw it.
Some people did. Some people had no clue what I was arrested for. So if you want to see the whole thing, the video is right on the front page of my website.
We were all about ready to get in our cars, just so you know.
You're going to need to be ready. So what happened after that, I had my arraignment. They denied me arraignment until January 11th, over 2 months later. And I tried to bring up that, they modified the ticket too after they served it on me. That's apparently a thing that's okay in Allegan County. Anyway, there's a bunch of other things I did wrong. And so I've been trying to file a motion to dismiss. And I had a hearing date, but they weren't putting it on their calendar. And then they told me I couldn't have my hearing on my motion to dismiss. I couldn't have one until after my arraignment sometime. So I finally had my arraignment, and I brought it up, and I said it multiple times on the record, Your Honor, I'd like to have my motion to dismiss. And finally, he allowed me to have my motion to dismiss. Keep in mind, I was the only one allowed in the courtroom besides court staff because they didn't let my husband in the building.
Which judge is that?
No, I don't know them. I could tell you when.
The
The first one you said was the first judge. The one I saw this week on Thursday for my motion to dismiss hearing on 4 distinct grounds was the second one you mentioned. And My husband was allowed in the building initially, but as soon as I was brought in the courtroom, they hauled him out. Yeah. And when the sheriff's deputy hauling him out was asked what law he was breaking, she said, it's just common knowledge. Yeah. And when I later asked, when I found out, she said, you're all the same. I'm not going to argue with you. All of you're all the same. I just asked you what law he broke. You said he broke the law. I just want to know which one. It's super warm this week, right? They wouldn't even let him sit in my car in the parking lot while waiting for me. They made him stand outside of my vehicle and outside the building on the sidewalk because they wouldn't let him touch the property. So if that were the worst thing, okay, fine. So I had an attorney. I'm deaf. I'm hard of hearing in this ear, deaf in this ear. And I read lips. So I really appreciate that I can actually read your lips today. So that's why I had my hearing in person. Because this Zoom garbage, It was hard enough when I was doing the Michigan Supreme Court hearing in September when I found out that was by Zoom. I freaked out and I called and emailed the Supreme Court clerk and I was like, I don't know what I do. What do I do? I'm going to talk over the Supreme Court justices because I'm not going to know they're talking to me. Good thing it was like the kind of oral argument where you're not really addressing the other side. So at any rate, so I had to do this in person. And they know that. They have it on, it's notated in my file and everything. So anyway, I go there and I'm prepared to argue the Americans with Disabilities Act. I'm prepared to tell them that even the orders that say they're supposed to be doing court hearings by Zoom say that, well, all this COVID, precaution stuff, you still have to recognize that ADA protections exist. And even the MDHHS order, if you scroll to the very bottom, I think it's paragraph 10, the very first subpart of that says that nothing in this order is to deny, disparage, or whatever, any rights guaranteed to people under federal or state disability laws. Okay, that's the very first one they say. So I had tons of stuff that I could say about why, they need to pay attention to my disability. And mind you, the first judge, when I went for my arraignment, wasn't wearing a mask, so I could read his lips. So I didn't know what to expect. Well, this judge was wearing a mask, and the prosecutor was wearing a mask. And before we even went on the record, and I walk in, they didn't let me walk in with anybody. Well, I walked in with an attorney friend of mine, and he was going to be my ADA attorney. He was going to be my attorney. All I wanted him to do, because he's an attorney, and because he has ears that work, unlike mine, he was going to sit there and hear what they were saying, since if they weren't going to be willing to take their masks off so I could read their lips. And I was just going to get any missing stuff from him. I didn't even get to be on the record, meaning so people could see and hear later on that this is what happened. Judge forced him out of the courtroom, wouldn't let him be in there. So not only is he denying an ADA accommodation, he denied me assistance of counsel. I don't care who you are, you know that in the United States you have the right to an attorney if you're facing jail time. And if you don't, then watch Law and Order, they'll tell you. I was denied an open hearing. We have a state law, MCL 600.1420, that says every single hearing in our state, any kind of hearing, has to be open to the public unless you have witnesses that need to be sequestered, kept separate from each other to make sure they're not colluding with their testimony. And then as soon as they're done testifying, they're not sequestered. Or you have a child who shouldn't be in the courtroom at that point in time because it's like a CSC case or something where there's, sexual immorality. Or it's a matter of national security. If it's not one of those three exceptions, they have to have it open to the public. Mind you, all the case law out there that says it's just a given. The people have a right to an open hearing, and the defendants have a right to an open hearing, not just a trial. So a public trial, yeah, we have the right to a trial, but that means all the other elements of the trial up to the trial. So I was not allowed to have a single human being in there.
That's what we have tomorrow.
I wasn't allowed an attorney. When I said I have a disability and I have a reasonable request for accommodation, the judge didn't hear anything I had to say, didn't want to know what my request for a reasonable accommodation really was, didn't care about exactly what my disability was. All he said is, we'll give you a hearing-assisted device. I don't know what kind of device. He didn't actually offer it to me. And he said, that's a reasonable accommodation. I don't have to do anything else. And then I never even got the device. So The most obvious stuff done to me. I can't even explain to you what that is, so should you be afraid of what's going to happen to you and your coworkers and the people that work for you and everything else? Yes. But if you do nothing, I showed up to have a conversation with a sheriff's deputy. I wasn't even the one circulating that day. I wasn't intending to stay there. That's why if you watch the video, the 47 times they said I had to leave or, asked me, are you going to leave? I never said no. I was going to leave. I wasn't going to say no. Yeah, I want to leave, but I didn't want to say it like that because I didn't want them to do the same thing to the people I was there to help. And look at what happened. And if I hadn't have been live streaming it to 10,000 people at that time, who were then saying on comments, oh, we're going to go down to the Allegan County Jail, we're going to bail her out, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I know that's why they let me go, because the deputy kept coming back to my car after releasing me, telling me that I needed to go back on and tell the people watching not to go to the jail. It's ugly out there. You can sit by and do nothing. You can try to just keep your business going and following all the orders. It's probably still going to get you screwed over. And then when all this blows over and we're actually getting our government back, then you're going to be liable to anyone that you, trampled upon their constitutionally protected rights. Are you in a rock and a hard spot? I'm thinking not as bad of a spot as I am right now, especially considering I have to pay, what is the total up to right now, honey? Like $400, I think, so far to get my transcript fee, to get a copy of the video that we'll see if it's actually like the full video, and pay the filing fee to be able to appeal this to the circuit court in the same courthouse, to the judges that used to be prosecutors working like for that judge. So then I have to pay for even more fees to then go to the Court of Appeals, because obviously it's probably not going to work out at the circuit court level. Where am I going to get that from?
Who funded that judge to get him elected?
I have no idea.
Find that out.
Right, in my free time. I will do that.
That's a
I'll
test
volunteer.
for you.
Well, I need volunteers for a ton of stuff, because we got to keep these other projects rolling while I'm trying not to get arrested every 5 minutes. So it's going to be hard, it's going to be ugly, and you're going to risk everything, but just like people that are in the military, right? They're risking everything, their freedom, they're risking their life to make sure that all of us, including their own families, can have that freedom. It might seem like a hyperbole to say that today. Watch the video, see what happened to me. See why I'm afraid to be physically in that building just to have my hearing, knowing that I'm not allowed to have an attorney. I'm not allowed to hear what's going on.
How can they literally get away with that? How? How can you not take Dar from Berry County or another sheriff from an adjoining county and say, hell no, you can't do this to me? How, as American citizens, can we just sit here and have them continuously do this shit?
I don't know, but I had 2 attorneys actually sitting out there in the lobby waiting for me to get done with my hearing. I mean, I don't know.
Could you legally turn around and sue that guy?
You mean, is he on my list of Allegan County officials who will be sued properly and promptly as soon as this criminal case is done? You can fill in the blank on that one.
That's a yes.
It's hard to, they got a, what's that, judicial tenure, is that what that's called?
Oh, there's a judicial tenure commission.
Yes, and we had a judge up in Ione County. I ended up filing a complaint on because he was doing what's called a star chamber. Every decision they make has to be in an open court. Well, they go back in their judge's office and make the decisions there. And well, whoa, time out, you're not supposed to be doing that. So we filed a complaint on it. I got denied it. I mean, it wasn't even, I don't know if the ink was dry on it. They sent it back with denial. And I'm going, why? They're not supposed to be doing it. It's supposed to be on record with the clerk and so on.
So we need people everywhere to file the complaints. Like, for example, did you guys know that any of you can file a complaint with the Attorney Grievance Commission against, well, you can file against the governor or the Attorney General's office, or not office, but the Attorney General. You can file against the Secretary of State, because she's an attorney, but you can also file against the Allegan County prosecutor, or the Allegan County assistant prosecuting attorneys, both of them that have been involved in this case so far. Hey, if you don't like what happened to me and you're worried about it happening to you or your friends, you can file, all the documents that I laid out are online, and the video of the incident itself is online. The evidence of the ticket that they served me with, and then which was supposedly a civil infraction, and then the ticket that I'm charged with is a misdemeanor. It's a crime. Somehow that's okay, and then the prosecutor is going to say in their response that it just didn't happen. How that's not trying to perpetrate fraud in the court, I don't know. But if any of you want to file a complaint with the Attorney Grievance Commission about it, go for it.
This is what's frustrating for me, because look at Roy Moore was taken out of office twice, and he was the chief judge for Alabama's Supreme Court. You guys see the little monument that he was ordered to take off of the grounds? And what it was is basically a monument of history. It had the 10 Commandments on top, and it had all these quotes from like the Mayflower Compact, and so all the way around it. And they removed him out of office, not once, but twice, because he refused to do that. But then we got stuff like this going on, and it seems to go on deaf ears.
Exactly. Who do they answer to? Who is above them that would just, whatever.
Nobody.
Running. Yeah.
Here's I think the important thing to take from this past year in these restrictions is that at least we're finding out who the little Nazis
Right.
Right. We know who these people are now, so we can avoid putting them in public office.
And that judge, both of those judges are going to be up for election at some point. The prosecutor is going to be up for election at some point, and that prosecutor almost lost because it was such a tight race that they had to do a recount. So, my husband loves this, by the way. This week on Tuesday, the funniest part, in case you didn't know, so I said I'm a township clerk. So on election day, I got arrested, right? And then by the end of the evening, it was announced that I had gotten elected. Yeah. And this week, Tuesday, I get elected to the Republican 2nd Congressional District State Committee. And they don't like to play by the rules, I'll tell you that much, but that's another story. 7 hours of footage if you want to watch what happened in that. That's great. And we're appealing what happened there, and I won. I won the most votes of any woman up and down the ballot, but I'm appealing it because it didn't follow the rule of law. But anyway, so then the same week, I get elected to that, then I have my freedom yanked away more and more, and the Constitution stomped on and burned right in front of me. So the most ironic situation you could think of, but my husband likes the headline, something about, Republican prosecutor going after, sitting Republican 2nd Congressional District State Committee woman and township trustee. Something like that. It should go really well for her, in the primary when she comes around again for that. But in the meantime, we need to do all these other things. We need to educate our friends and family on this. We need to be reading the Constitution. We need to not let anyone in government ever tell you, you're not an attorney, you can't read the law. You're not an attorney, you can't read the Constitution. Oh, and by the way, if there's all these unconstitutional orders, executive orders, even an unconstitutional order from a district court or a circuit court, you just have to keep following it until a higher court says so. Was that in any of the language I read to you guys? No, it's as though it doesn't exist. Marbury versus Madison, an unconstitutional law or government action is legally as though it never even existed. So we need to start acting like none of this crap ever existed. Exercise your freedom and demand your friends and your family and your neighbors and the people you go to church with to do the same thing. In this county and in other counties. That is the best thing that you can do. And if I had a Staples Easy Button, I promise I would have brought it.
Nothing's easy.
Yeah.
You're aware that there's been counties in Michigan that the county commissioners and the county attorney general and the county clerk have all signed this agreement that they're not going to enforce these laws? Like in Moraga County up there up north?
Baraga?
Yeah. Do you know how that's working for them? Are they?
Oh, you Lower Peninsula guys.
I'm sorry.
I was born in Houghton Hancock, sorry. But,
okay.
Yeah.
Delta County up there too, wasn't it? There were another one that did something similar.
I don't know of all of them. I do know that people all over the state are trying to get their county commissioners to do that. I mean, in all honesty, I hadn't even verified and called the prosecuting attorney myself to verify, is that actually your signature? Is that like your real document? I would like to do that at some point if I'm going to be talking about it. But my understanding is that it has been happening, and I haven't even seen all the language of these resolutions. But if it is what I've heard that it is, then yeah, that's the kind of thing that we need to be doing. We need.
I got it on my phone.
Well, I got it on my phone. I just haven't had 5 minutes to read. I mean, I kid you guys not. Every single meal, if I'm not eating in a car on the way to someplace like this, I'm eating it at my computer. So if I had.
We appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just so you know, we appreciate all your efforts.
Well,
At least I do.
and I guess one thing I feel bad even asking, because I know you guys are all struggling too, but if you know of somebody who likes the work that I'm doing and they are able to donate $5 or $50 or $500 or $5, whatever, but even $5, those links are on my website. It shows where you can send a check or anything like that. And I respect wherever you want it to go. If you want to make sure that I can make my mortgage payment this month, because this is all I'm doing, I'm not earning any other money, then that's where I put that money. If you want to put it towards legal expenses, or when I burn out my printer printing all these cases and statutes, I've literally read every single law in the state of Michigan at this point, thousands of them. We have 830 chapters. It doesn't mean I have them all memorized, but I've read them all. I've read every single court rule in our Supreme Court, court rules. It takes a lot of resources. It takes a lot of funds to do that. And so far, I'm doing it just because people like you have been helping. But January was kind of a tough month. We went from having people donating, and then I got like $156 in the main account. And I don't know if we had more checks or anything, but that was all I got online. I was like, holy crap. That's not even to pay for my appeal. So if you know people that are willing and able to donate, and I know some people like to think they're of something tangible. So as silly as it is, I was in Sam's Club yesterday and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need more highlighters when I go through this stuff. I'm going to put a wish list on there. I'm going to put a box of highlighters, or I'll put whatever. So people, if they think that whatever, if they're more to visualize, oh, I'm helping in this way. I'm sitting on a chair that's literally from the 1970s, and I have a bad back. I have arthritis and degenerative disc disease. So at some point, I'm going to need to get a new chair, but there's a really comfortable one at Sam's for $120, but I'm going to put that wish list on there. Anyway, so I realize I bombarded you guys with information, and I really appreciate you guys, asking questions and listening. Hopefully I didn't bore you too much. Hopefully I did give you something of value, and something of value that you can share with others. So, oh, I thought my child actually fell asleep standing up sideways. I was a little scared. Looks like a candy cane.
Did you see Wayne County prosecutor? Recently.
I heard that everything from May 1st was being dismissed related to the orders.
Right.
So that's good. I haven't seen it myself or what that really looks like, but I've, hadn't heard anything to contradict it. So yeah, that's awesome.
One county.
But
It's just one county. We got to get the rest of them to follow.
Although that's
With
like
that,
1.2 million people, over 10% of our state's population. So it's a good start.
Yeah, but
If one county's going to do it, let's go with Wayne.
yeah, let's go.
Right.
She had over 1,700 cases alone just in Detroit. The Wayne County prosecutors.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome.
And
So
I think people need to realize too, it takes that bit of courage to stand up, not look back. You will get in trouble, and that's okay, because you're on the right side. And they can't win.
I'm risking my law
They
life.
can't win.
I'm risking my livelihood. I'm literally risking jail. I was risking my daughter, that sweet little angelic, perfect bundle of cuteness, being thrown into the government system. And I've worked in the child protection system for years as a lawyer guardian ad litem, and as an attorney for parents going through it, an attorney for children, you name it. I know what that system's like. And sometimes it works and it saves kids, and sometimes it screws families over big time. So I risked that for this. It's going to be scary, it's going to suck, but you guys can do it. I mean, I'll help any way I can. Yeah.
If somebody here got fined and everything, they paid that fine stuff, and now they came to tuition that none of it was
They
legal
probably
in the
wouldn't get
first
it back.
place? You won't get it back?
I'm guessing not. What do you think, Dar?
Why pay it? Why would you pay it?
Oh,
Well, that's
a
what
lot
I'm
of people
saying, but
did.
if they did,
No.
you know,
It's not like
I
it's a
think
bill
they
that
need to
can't
file
be.
a complaint with the whole police department to get it back.
Do you think it would happen?
I'd make my guys do it. I don't know about city police.
Yeah, you would, but
Yeah,
That's
you're like one guy. Like, what about the city?
And
The
one-
city police?
One of the
You don't
biggest
see him
problems,
here, do ya?
No, you don't.
No.
one of the biggest problems we have is when you go to the academy, they don't teach us about this stuff here. We didn't go through Constitution 101. We went through Supreme Court, they call it case law. And I hate that phrase,
Yep.
case law. And they teach us that, and they teach us towards all this case law to go ahead and handle domestic, go handle a drunk driver, go handle shots fired call and all that stuff. But they don't teach us how to handle it when your own government's out of line. And that's trying to get them to do it, but it's like,
oh, trust me, you and I are gonna start touring. You don't know it yet, but
okay.
we're gonna. And Sheriff Richard Mack is gonna be a big one in helping to facilitate it. He doesn't know it yet either. But
How do you rein in the city police?
This one you don't.
you know what's
Just
funny?
pretend he's not there or.
And they're
his
not
wife in
elected,
front
right?
of him.
They're not elected, they're appointed.
they're
That's-
appointed. Yep.
How do you
So-
get them out?
Okay, so number one, so this is gonna sound crazy, right? This is gonna sound crazy.
For the mayor.
You hear the defund the police, right? Defund the police, and it's like the mostly the violent protesters and whatnot, right? It actually hit me yesterday, and who knows, maybe my wise friend already said this to me. I don't know. We do need to defund police. We need to defund and get rid of every single law enforcement agency where there's not an elected official at the top who's held accountable directly to the people. Police are not elected. The police chiefs are not elected. Sheriffs are elected. So sheriffs are actually something that it's an office talked about in our constitutions. Police are not.
So we got
See,
Supreme Court.
Pratt's got that held over his head. Coming in these restaurants, he has to answer to a higher power, who does Dar answer?
The people.
The people.
The mayor needs to, he literally said to one of us, I'm just a figurehead. And I said, well, I just about blew up when I heard that. You're just a figurehead?
He took an oath of office. Does his oath of office say he's just a figurehead? Or he's there to support and defend the Constitution?
No, I couldn't believe that that was a cop out. He said that. I'm like, well, you need rated your city police officer to actually look at all these, what they're doing in all these liberal cities. The mayors are doing whatever they want to do.
The mayor's one is appointed.
So how, like, let's start running for offices. and
Yes.
Infiltrating
That's what
the
we're here
system.
now.
Yes.
That's what the other side.
Run for city council, run for township trustee, run for county commission, run for school board,
School board.
run for sheriff, run for prosecuting attorney, whatever your profession is. You didn't know you were going to be prosecuting attorney next election cycle, did you?
There you go, Brad.
Run for each of those offices. Don't ever let any of them tell you you're not good enough, that you don't belong, that you don't have party backing, that you don't have enough money, whatever the situation is. You file your affidavit of identity and whatever paperwork, if you need signatures or whatever, or a filing fee, you file that in good enough time to get it all sorted out if there's any problems, and you do the work. You go talk to people, you knock on doors, you talk to your friends and family, you ask people to donate so you can send mailers out or postcards or whatever, you send emails if you don't have any money, you put it on Facebook if you're lucky enough to still have a Facebook account, right? I mean, all of these are part of it. You have to run. I'm not a township trustee because I thought it would be fun or because I had the time. In fact, I was already in the midst of fighting these unconstitutional orders at the time in April towards the deadline, and somebody approached, and he said he's already a township trustee, and he said, Catherine, you got to help me out. We need a whole slate of people. We got to have good people running to get all the bad ones out of there. And I was like, you're telling me my local government is going to suck if I don't file and run for this office? And my husband's like, you better not. And here I am. So I don't have the time for it. I don't have the patience. I think I might get paid like $200 a month, maybe. I don't know. So obviously I'm rolling in the dough on that. So I lied. I am taking in money on that. That maybe covers one of my filing fees. But that's seriously what it's going to take. You're not overqualified and you're not underqualified.
Don't let anyone tell you you're underqualified.
Don't let anyone tell you that.
We, the people.
Yep. Okay, if you don't have a law degree and you're not licensed to practice here, then technically you're not qualified to run for prosecuting attorney.
Yeah, we'll leave that out.
Or judge. But aside from that, that's why we just talked that guy into it. He just doesn't know it yet either.
I'll be campaign, Brad. If I'm not already campaigning for something in Kent County, we'll have to see about that.
Do you guys have any questions? Otherwise, I don't know if I'm good. Yeah, me too. I don't know if you want to know what time it is.
Kevin, thank you for coming.
Does everybody here know about the local government